Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Pagan, and in today's lesson we're going to be talking about functions and their graphs. So let's get started. First we start with the definition of a relation. And a relation is a mapping and a pairing, I should say, of input values with output values. So it's a pairing or mapping, okay, of input values with output values. Now, a lot of the times, a lot of students say, what does that mean? And I agree with you, it is kind of weird definition. But let's kind of talk about what does that mean. Well, for example, a pairing could be represented as a mapping diagram. So I'm going to kind of show you the different ways that you can write these relations. And what it looks like is two little circles. And let's say that I have a number 3 here, and that corresponds with the number 5. And let's say I have -4, and that corresponds with the number 2. That's what a mapping diagram looks like. So if we were to ever say that, you would make your ordered pairs look like this. Now from here, we can actually use this and draw a table. And this maybe will help you a little bit. So let's say the x values are 3. Well, the y value in that case is 5 if I look at it 3 and 5. And over here, x value is -4 while the y value is 2. Another way to represent a relation is by making a table, which you are more familiar with. Now from the table, we can actually get ordered pairs. And ordered pairs are x comma y. So for example, I have 1.3 comma 5, and the second relation that I'm dealing with is -4 comma 2. So that's our relation set right there. From the ordered pair, we can graph it. And so we put it on the x and the y coordinate plane. So we are going to plot 3 and up 5. Here's one of them. The other one is -4 to the left and up 2. So here's the second. So that's the graphing of our relation. And then last but not least, we can actually have a verbal model, and that could be an equation. And that's more of a y equals 3x plus 2. I'm not sure if that's the equation that matches these points, but it's an example of what a relation could look like. Alright, so there are 5 different ways we can represent relations, and basically it's the input values and output values put together. Or some people know it as x values and y values put together. Or some people know it as domain and range put together. Alright, so I do want to put a couple notations. So I do want to tell you that input values are kind of like our domains, and our domains are our x values in this case, in the example above. And we also have what we like to call output values, and our output values are called range, and that is kind of like our y values. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of highlight these because these are important concepts that you should definitely have in your notes. Alright, let's head on to what is a function. Definition of a function is pretty simple. Okay, it is this idea that if I have a function, then I should have one output for every input. So for example, there should be, let's write that down actually, exactly one output for each input. And I'm going to show you what this means as we're kind of going through these examples. Alright, let's talk about some of these problems. Let's do number 1 together, and I'll let you work on number 2. It says identify the domain and range. So first, I know that the domain is all the x values, as we just talked about above, and the range is all the y values. Sometimes it's hard for me to see what the x and y values are, so what I do is write these points out. So for example, I know that this point is located at -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and down 4. So this is located at -5, -4. I know that this point is located at -3, -2. I know this point is located at -2, 2. This one is located at 1, and I didn't go up any, so 0. This one is located at over 2 and up 3. And last but not least, over 3 and up 3. Sometimes it's hard for me to see them, so what I'll do is kind of rewrite them on the side. That might be a good strategy for you. For example, -5, -4 is one of them, -3, -2, -2, 2. We have 1, 0, 2, 3, and last but not least 3, 3. Okay, so what is asked for is list the domains and range. So let's kind of start that process. We know that the domain is all the x values, so we're going to kind of look for all those x values in the points. Well, we know that it's the first numbers, so we're going to list them. If it repeats, I don't like to list it twice. So I'm listing -5, -3, -2, 1, 2, and 3, and I do like to write it into increasing order. It's a good strategy. Now let's talk about range. So the range is going to be all the y values, so I'm kind of looking at it. These are all it. We have -4, -2, 2, I'll put 0 first, 2, and then 3, 3. I like to put them, once again, in order of increasing. So you can kind of see the ranges right here. And last but not least, the domain in the x values. So that's where I got all those from. Now, the second part says tell whether the relation is a function. Okay, so there is something I haven't talked to you about, and that's a vertical line test. So I can really quickly tell if this is a function or not by using the vertical line test. So I'm going to go ahead and use this vertical line test. And what that means is, can you, do you have one line with 1 point? Okay, and if you do, then we pass. So if we don't, we fail. So let's look at it. I'm going to go ahead and draw a vertical line test. I went through only 1 point. I went through 1 point, went through 1 point. This looks so good so far. 1 line, 1 point, 1 line, 1 point, 1 line, 1 point. So that means I passed a vertical line test. And that means yes, the relation is a function. Okay, so if I did not pass it, my answer would be no, it's not a function. But I passed it because every vertical line that I drew has only 1 point on it. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to actually solve example number 2 in class. So leave that alone. I want to make sure I go over it one more time with you tomorrow. So leave that one alone. Let's kind of go further and let's talk about this vertical line test a little bit more. So once again, we're talking about a vertical line test, and what it does is it tells us if it's a function or not. So vertical line test answers a question, function or not. Okay, that's the question it answers. So we're going to go ahead and run the vertical line test on this. Okay, now here's what I see. I'm going to stop right there because I could tell that this one line I drew has 2 points on it. And therefore, I have failed the vertical line test. Because it's supposed to be 1 line, 1 point. Well, I got 1 line, 2 points. Therefore, the relation is not a function. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's run the vertical line test on the next one. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line. So I got 1 line, 1 point. I'm going to draw another line. I got 1 line, 1 point. Draw another line. 1 line, 1 point. And what I'm noticing is I keep getting 1 lines and 1 points. And I don't really see an area where it's kind of could be 2. So we passed the vertical line test. Okay. Therefore, the relation is a function. All right. All right, so that's pretty much the majority of things that we're going to be talking about. But I do want to give you, the concepts are kind of now becoming repetitive, but I do want to show you one where there's a graph, and just to give you an idea of what it looks like, okay? So here's a relation, and this is written as a table, which we talked about earlier. We know it says that list the domains. Well, we know that the domain is all the x values. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's already in order. And we know that the range is all the y values. So we have 0 comes first, then 1. I'm just doing it in order. I have 2, 3, so I'm just going to write it once, and 5. So that's our range right there. Now it says to graph the relation, so I'm going to also graph, so that's the first thing I should have done actually before doing the domain and range, but sometimes I get excited about domain and range. So let's go ahead and graph. Well, we know that 0, 3 is a point, so 0 and up 3. We know 1, 5, so over 1 and up 5. We know 2, 3, so over 2 and up 3. We have 3, 1, over 3 and up 1. And we have 4, 0, over 4 and stay there. All right, so here's the graphing of the relation. We listed the domain and range already because we got way ahead of ourselves. So what we want to know is this a function or not? I'm going to go ahead and run the vertical line test. 1 line, 1 point. So far, so good. 1 line, 1 point. So far, so good. 1 line, 1 point. 1 line, 1 point. 1 line, 1 point. And since we pass, it is a function, okay? We just passed the vertical line test. Okay, we have 1 line for 1 point. That's pretty awesome. All right, here's what I'd like for you to do. I want you to try B and C. We're going to go over these. I think you can definitely handle it. So give it a go. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.